Everyday people working 9 to 5, saving up that money, trying to survive, investing in the future, trying to be wise, through loving money heroes. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Nik Johnson, host of Everyday Money Heroes, and I've reached early retirement. I'm here to provide information on how to obtain financial independence and inspire you through sharing stories of everyday people who are turning knowledge into freedom.
That hustle, always reaching for the sky. We wanna be money heroes, never gonna shy.
Hello and welcome to Everyday Money Heroes. We provide information and inspiration to people of all ages to take control of your financial journey. I'm your host, Nik Johnson, and today we're going to do something a little different. What I'm going to share here is actually a interview that I did in September of this year with Scott Carson. Scott Carson is the host of We Close Notes. Scott's a good guy. He has a different approach to real estate investing. He focuses on notes. A lot of individuals don't know that, you can't do note investing in real estate. And so this is really what Scott specializes in. I met Scott a few years ago in an event called FinCon. We both had a common interest in real estate, so we started talking. We were going to meet up again this year. We actually did meet up at FinCon this year when it was in Portland, Oregon, and we had a chance to connect then, but also we connected right before the conference and had this interview. So I want to share it with you. Please go over and show Scott some love. Check out his content over there on We Close Notes on YouTube. He has tons of episodes, and if you have any questions or comments for Scott in regards to notes, definitely reach out to him. He'd be more than happy to help you. So I want to kind of give an intro to what you're going to see here because it's going to be a little bit different. But definitely, if you have not, please like, share, subscribe. Also, go over, check Scott out again at We Close Notes.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Hey, welcome to this episode of the Note Closure Show. As always, Scott Carson. Excited to be here with you today. Today is this episode should be coming out this Friday. And as you know, in the last couple of days, we've been doing some folks that we feature of interesting people we meet at FinCon. And our special guest this time around is a guy I've known for actually, I think, a couple of years now. We met at FinCon a couple of years back. He's a money nerd like yours truly, like all of you on there. But he also, what I love that he's also a real estate investor, but he also approaches money from a little different mindset with his experience and what he teaches and how he helps people. But most importantly, this guy has a huge heart for helping folks out there get above their money problems. All right. He's the host of the Everyday Money Heroes, where he leads engaging discussions on financial independence and personal growth. Having achieved early retirement at the age of 48, he is passionate about helping others take control of their financial futures. In addition to the financial expertise, he has been a dedicated, get this, marriage relationship coach for over 20 years. Some of y'all need that. I'll tell you that right now. Some of y'all are non-performing marriages, and we need to get the performance side back. But anyway, where he's guiding individuals and couples towards stronger, healthy relationships. Through this work, he empowers people with practical insights and real-life strategies to achieve both financial and personal success. Who we talking about? We talk about my buddy, my friend, Nik Johnson. Nik, how are you doing today, buddy? How's the week going for you?
Going great. I don't know how much longer I'll be able to say this, but go Jags. We won. So things are going pretty good, man. We're atop the AFC South, so we're really excited down here. So yeah, things are good, man. So I had a good weekend, and I'm happy to be here on the No Closer show, and excited to go down and have this conversation with you.
Yeah, man. So if you guys didn't get that, he's talking about Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yes,
So there's a
we
bunch of
are.
different Jaguars out there. So
That is true, but down here in these parts in Duval, it's only one that's near and dear to us.
in the big Duval County, you know
Yes,
what I
sir.
mean? That is the truth. So let's dive into the common stuff here we got going on. We met talking about real estate. I think was it last year, the year before at FinCon. I think maybe it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So why don't you share with our listeners here kind of your experience and kind of what you do and how you got to where you retired at 48. Let's talk about that, kind of how you use real estate and that stuff.
Yeah, sure, definitely. as you said before, Scott, I am a money nerd, and so I've always had a very deep interest in money. As long as I can remember, I've always been someone who was intrigued by it as a kid. I remember looking in the business section and seeing the stock tickers, knowing that it meant something about money, not quite knowing what it meant. And so I just kind of always had that thirst for it. As I got older, I understood the importance of living with below your means, saving money and things like that. So I always kind of hit those kind of core tenets. And so what happened is I matured, understood that there was a need to probably do something outside of my traditional employment. And so I was like, okay, what I want to do? Um, Actually, the first thing I did, I haven't even shared this with you, Scott. I actually owned a car lot for a while. So that's,
Okay.
yeah. And I realized I was way too honest for that business. It just wasn't. I was,
So, so the big question, you was it used cars or new cars? What was the big thing about
I
that?
was a mom and pop, so it was a used
Okay.
car lot. It was a used cars. I did buy here, pay here. That's what I
Yeah,
did.
yeah. You were in the
So
note business there.
I,
You
I
were in the
was.
note business. My best friend growing up in high school, oldest friend I've known, that's what his parents did. And he would sell
Mm.
cars, but they were not the ethical kind, like the roll back the odometer kind, you know what I mean?
Okay.
One week the lot is full, the next week it's is empty,
Mm.
but that was they bought and sold paper and stuff like that. Now he's an attorney. He's an attorney out of Beaumont, basically,
Okay.
stuff like that. So, but yeah, it's kind of funny,
Yeah.
starting paper game, that's a great way to be in it.
Yeah, that is. So I did that. I did the car lot for about a year, and actually, I was kind of at a crossroads. So I was like, I'll either do real estate or I'll do the car dealership. And I decided to go the car dealership route. That didn't really work out. That was around, oh goodness, '05, '06.
Okay.
And so what happened is, I stepped away from that, went back to regular W-2 employment. But
Now,
I
what were you
still,
doing? What were you doing in the W-2 job? You don't mind me
oh no,
asking.
no,
What were you?
I started off being a computer programmer.
Okay. All right.
That's the first thing I did. I was a computer programmer. So I went back to doing that. But I still was like, you know what? I still need to do something. The money was okay. But I was like, I still feel like I need to do more. And so what happened is that I was like, well, I thought about real estate at one point, decided to go the dealership route. I was like, let's go ahead and actually pursue real estate now. And so what happened is that I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And 08, '09 happened. 08, '09 happened. And
Great time to be in real estate, right? That point, right?
yes, it's a great time, especially if you had money, because
Yep.
there are plenty of deals to be had. But unfortunately, I had kind of lost my shirt with the car dealership, so I was still building up,
Yeah.
my cash reserves there. And so what happened is that '08 came around, and I was like, you know what, I really don't want to. I want to get a new house. And this is kind of how I get into the real estate thing. I wanted to build a new house because we were in our starter house. We wanted to get into a bigger house, but I was like, I'm not going to sell. I was like, oh, we're so upside down in this house. I was like, I'm just hold on to it. And
Yep.
so literally, I let the house sit there while we built the new house because at least on the upside, that we was getting stuff dirt cheap buying a new house. So the house sat there empty for a little while, and I was like, you know what, this house can't sit empty. For at this point, it had been like around over a year. I was like, we got to do
Ooh.
something with this house because we had lost stuff. My wife was pregnant. It was just tons of stuff going on. I was like, we got to have this house start making money for us. And so technically, what happened is we became accidental landlords. And
Okay.
so we got into that. And then I remember we were fortunate that back then, I think our mortgage was like, now, granted, for context, again, I'm in Florida. So I'm not like, even though I'm in Florida, I'm in Jacksonville, Florida. So it's not like Miami and places like that. And so
Yep.
back then, this was our first house. So we got into it, in 2000. And so
Okay.
we only had, I think it was like 89 grand, I think we paid for that house. So at that particular
Yep.
point, we had been in it for about 11 years. And so we had refinanced some stuff. So our mortgage was like three something a month. And I was like, I was like, this should cash flow easy. I was like, it's a standard 2 car garage. And so first time we did it, we did get a property manager first time because we were still relatively new to it. But I mean, we were still clearing, I don't know, we were probably like clearing $400 or $500 a month after even PM. I was like, you know what, this ain't bad. Maybe we need to do it again. And so that's what kind of how I got into initially. But I was like, I was like, I might need to do it a couple more times. So I did decide to go ahead. We picked up a few more rentals through a couple different ways. One way was through an auction back. It used to be called like Hubzoo. When I
Yeah.
used
I
to,
remember
yeah,
Hubzoo. Yep.
yeah. I bought a house off of Hubzoo. Just because I was like, hey, I really want to do this, and I'm always looking for a bargain. One thing I did learn, Scott, in the car business, where I lost my shirt, is that I realized that you don't make your money when you sell anything. You make it when you buy it.
Hmm.
And so that's why it's important to buy right. No matter if it's notes, anything you're doing, you got to buy right because you can't try to make up on the back end for it. And so I kind of learned that premise. So I was like, I'm going to Hubzu because I know I can get some deep discounts there. So I bought a house there. I mean, it was just a home run all over the place. I mean, it just worked. It checked all the boxes. It was 322, set on an acre and a half. It wasn't a subdivision. It was just great. And so I bought it. I had some cash at that particular point saved up. So I did it, stabilized it after around 6 months, um, refinanced it, pulled the cash out. It was great. Did it again as far as got a subject to deal maybe a year later. That one was great. I think I ended up getting inside of that one for around 10 grand, which was weird. I paid the person 10 grand. I got the loan reinstated, caught up everything, stabilized it after about a year, refinanced them out of it. That was a great deal. Then I got one more property. So real estate really played a vital part in kind of my holistic kind of approach toward
Right.
being able to retire early. So I was thankful for that real estate itch.
That's awesome. Yeah, use a variety of strategies. Now these were all in Duval County, Jacksonville area for you.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I know that there are some other places, but I just kind of like, kind of invested where I can hang my hat, and so I do it all in Jacksonville.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. Trust me, there's plenty of deals in Jacksonville. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
plenty of deals there in Jacksonville. I mean, I've been there before. We've owned a bunch of non-performing notes in Jacksonville before that we got reperforming or stuff that we foreclosed and sold off. So yeah,
Mhm.
totally understand. So that's great. So when you were doing this, were you getting to the point where like, hey, if I can generate this much income on a monthly basis, I can leave my job, or I can. Was your wife working at the time too? Working too? Dual
Mhm.
income household or
Yeah.
no?
So she did dual income. So what happened is that probably till around we had our son, our middle boy, in 2010. And so my wife was working there, and then she kind of scaled back to kind of doing part-time.
Yep.
And then we had our daughter, our youngest, in 2013. Then she kind of really pulled back there and like
Yeah.
kind of did spot duty here and there. But for the most part, it was on one income. And so I kind of took that seriously. I was like, okay, I need to make sure that I can do what I need to do because we
Sure.
always had this goal to be work optional at 50. And so I was
Yep.
like, how can we get there? So real estate was part of it. Then also, I was like, I did invest in stock market and things like
Okay.
that. So.
Very nice. Very nice. So you get to this point and you're just like, screw it, I don't want to work no more. And
Uh-huh.
twiddling your thumbs. And you're like, I'm gonna go golf every day. I'm gonna go fishing every day. You know what I mean? And
Uh-huh.
then you're like, I gotta do something with myself, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You do have to. And so literally what happened is that, somebody always told me if you're going to retire, you got to retire to something. And
Yeah.
so even when I started running numbers, and so part of me being a money nerd is that I like being around other money nerds, which is why part of the reason why I was at FinCon, I met you, Scott, but also here in Jacksonville, I'm a part of the f.i.r.e community, well, holistically the f.i.r.e community, but also we have a really strong group here in Jacksonville. And so that's why I really started to really fine tune and understand my numbers and stuff and understand stuff like the 4% rule and everything else and how
Yeah.
I could take the revenue I was generating from my rentals and how to compensate that when I figured out my 4% rule, like all this other stuff. And so what,
Hang on a second. So, for those that are listening, if you don't know what the fire community is a group
okay.
of people that run around committing arson all the time. That's right, lighting shit on fire. No, well, you are. It stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early, is what FIRE
Yep.
stands for, folks out there.
Mhm.
And I don't want you to brush over it before we get into it, but explain the 4% rule to our listeners out there for those that
Okay.
may not know.
All right. So for we'll use some easy numbers. Say for instance, the 4% rule says that hey, if you can calculate your annual spend as far as how much it costs for you to live, um, if you invest that into the market. So say for instance, I identify that I need to live off of $40,000 a year. Okay.
Okay.
You take that number, multiply it times 25. And that's how much you need to have invested in the stock market. And you can pull 4% off of that a year. And basically you can use that in retirement. And it's based off the Trinity study. And so basically what happens is that is supposed to last you, well, the original guidance was 30 years, but I've heard people say beyond that. And
Yeah.
so say, for instance, if you want to live off of $40,000 a year, have at least $1 million invested, you can pull $40,000 off a year, you should be good. So that is the 4%.
Or as I like to say, you just buy notes and cash flow that per year without having any and using other people's money because that. But we will not split
OPP,
hairs
huh?
here. OPP, you down with other people's money? That's right, baby. Other people's
uh,
profits. But
yeah.
that's good. So you're part of this community or networking.
Yeah, I'm a part of the community, and I got to the point where I was like, okay, you know what? There are some real common things that if you could just get right, it's like 80% of the work. far as believing delayed gratification, intentional spending, living below your means, just kind of some stuff like that. Understand, the basis of compound interest and just things like that. The importance of credit. Sometimes, because, when you first start off, especially in real estate, sometimes you're not savvy enough to understand how to use all these other different instruments. So sometimes you
Yeah.
might have to go and actually use your credit. Sometimes you're not able to get non-recourse loans and stuff like that. And so
Yep.
just really getting people to understand those fundamentals. So what I started doing in my community of Jacksonville is that I started providing these quarterly financial independence workshops. And so what I do is that I don't charge anybody anything for this. It's free because I don't want price to be a deterrent for anyone. I go and I rent out typically libraries. And so I have these kind of open discussions where I go out, I spend my own money as far as going out doing promotion for this, whether it's Facebook marketing, Eventbrite, whatever it is. And I go and basically I'm like, hey, come here. I don't want to sell you anything. I just want to just give you knowledge. And that's my way to pay it forward. And also what I do is I have a panel. And on my panel that I have is that there are individuals who are on different basically places on their fire journey. We have some people who just came to realization like, hey, you know what? Um, I understand this concept of financial independence. I don't want to have to exchange my time for money anymore. All the way up to people who are in the middle of it and people who have been, fired for the last, 2, 3 years. So really we have a panel of people up there and basically anything goes. They can ask us questions about whatever. And so really the goal is just go out there, put it out there in front of them because the thing is that if you don't know something exists, you can't aspire for it. And so
Right.
that's really what I want to do is just give people information and inspiration and inspire them to go out there and do it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, question for you. You were talking earlier, and this question popped up. Were your parents big into teaching you, the aspect of being financially responsible? Or you're loud. I hear a chuckle there a little bit. So were you like a lot of kids, your parents didn't teach you anything about finances besides what they knew about balancing checkbook or something like that, or no?
Well, Scott, to be honest with you, this is the way I feel like with most parents.
Yep.
You can only give what you know.
Amen to that.
And
Yep.
so what my parents instilled in me was, working hard, integrity, and budgeting. So those are the three things that they told me. As far as like the investing piece and everything else, that's just something they didn't have. So that's
Sure.
why it was something I had to go out there and kind of find out on my own. Now that I have it, I'm now responsible for teaching that to my kids. So now I push that to my kids now. So, all my kids, I'm like, hey, like my middle boy, he trades stocks. He's 13 now. No, I take it back. He used to be 13. He's been doing it since he was 13. So now he's 15. And so literally, he has his Fidelity account. He goes in there, he's, buying, ETFs. He's out there, buying his dividends and all this other stuff. And so I'm just really pushing him into understand that, hey, man, you know what? I was like, it's a way that you can do it. But at the same time, it's almost trying to balance it out because I want you to understand how to do it. But at the same time, you got to understand that there's a responsibility that comes with it as well. So, when you know better, you do better, but also the importance of, just giving to others. So I try to balance all that stuff out with them.
Well, that falls in line with me. Like I had, 4-year apprenticeship to note business. So I said, hey, man, if I can get to where I'm going,
Mhm.
I'm going to help as many people get there as possible too. Because there's these things aren't just out there. I mean, they are out there readily available, but if you don't know where to look these days, I
Yeah.
mean,
Mhm.
if you don't know what to ask or you're not around these things on a
Mhm.
regular basis, you just don't know what you just don't know. And the
Yeah.
beautiful thing, though, your parents taught you work ethic,
Mhm.
and taught you some building blocks that you can take and apply to this and learn it. And you've done an amazing job with this. Now, you said you started doing these quarterly workshops when?
All right. So I started doing them. I had my first one the end of last year.
Okay.
End of last year, I want to say. And so I just have them quarterly. I do them, and now I feel like I'm building up a little momentum because now
Yeah,
it's like, okay, people who attended them are now telling people. So it's a little bit of word of mouth going on now, which is cool. So
that's awesome.
I appreciate that. And ultimately, kind of really what my goal is, I'm working up to where I'm trying to get on the radar of the mayor. I'm trying to get in front of her. So I can say, hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and just kind of start some type of task force around financial literacy. So that's really what I want to try to do. So I'm trying to work and get, those 6 degrees of separation. I'm trying to like keep pulling it back and get close enough to her so I can, have those conversations.
I love it. I love it. I'm
Mhm.
friends with Sharon Lechter, who's co-author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, and
Oh,
she's got
okay.
a very big financial literacy thing going on in Arizona and passing off. So when we get off of this, we
Oh,
need to
okay.
try. I need to make an introduction for you
Yeah,
into some
definitely. I
friends and
appreciate
stuff
that.
like that. But that's
Absolutely.
that's the beautiful thing. What do you see from now teaching this now quarterly? This is coming up on the fourth quarter here, so this will be the
Mhm.
fourth or fifth time you've taught it.
Yeah. Mhm.
What's some of the underlying threads that you see with people? lack of education when it comes to finances,
Mhm.
motivation to get out of a bad situation or to buy the first house, or what are some of the things that you see that are
Mm.
common threads, Nick?
Um, Two things I'll say. And I'll start with the easiest one first. I heard someone say this, and it was very true, and I wish I could give credit to them. They said that people spend money they don't have to get stuff they don't need to impress people they don't know.
Mm. Yes,
So
sir. The whole keeping up with the Joneses
yes,
analogy
keeping up with
there.
the Joneses. Yeah, so that is kind of a big thing because all that shitters, all that shines is not gold. I don't know
Yep.
where that came from,
Well,
but
that's all right. That's okay. There's a lot of shit that shines that is not gold. Amen to that.
yeah. So that, but then the other thing is just mindset, Scott.
Yeah.
Almost with anything in life, it comes down to mindset. If you can believe it, you can achieve it. And
Mhm.
so what happens is a lot of times people just don't know they can do it. And so, for instance, you might be like, hey, you know what? You know, I don't know anybody that's, closing notes, buying notes. What's that? And so the thing is that, okay, can we show them people who are actually doing it? And so my thing is, hey, let's get your mind right. You can do just about anything if you believe it. And so once you're able to see somebody do it, it helps. And so my thing is they sit down, get that mindset right, and not just with personal finance. It's with anything. If you want to have a successful relationship, you want to lose weight, anything, you got to get the right mind state. So we want to make sure that your mind is right. And so really, I want people to just get that belief, saying, hey, you know what? I think I can do it. And sometimes you have to be that exception because sometimes you might not have anybody around you. I had nobody around me. I was the first person to graduate from college from my family. I was the first person to pay off their mortgage on their house. I was the first person to retire early. So I mean, literally, those are the first that were in. I didn't have an uncle or auntie anybody's, but I just had the mindset. I can do it. And so my thing is that if you don't have that mind state to be able to do it, try to get with people who will lift you up and move in that right direction.
That's so true that it starts with that 4 to 6 inches between the ears
Yeah.
with the mindset there for you. And
Hmm.
then surrounding yourselves with like-minded individuals to help that momentum, especially because we all know life is full of ups and downs. Let's just
Hmm.
face it, there's so much negativity out there in the world. It's very easy to get down on yourselves. Or
Yeah.
I think a lot of our friends and families, we grow up with people and they start seeing you do good. They might cheer you on a little bit, but they also have some resentment, maybe like, what do you think? You're better than us because you're not going to drink with us? You're not going to go out and spend money on the weekend at the bars? You're going to put that in a
Yeah.
save, you're going to save
Hmm.
more. It all happens. And I think that the best analogy came from my buddy Greg Reed, who taught me years ago. He's the author of Think and Grow Rich, Three Fruit from Gold.
Okay.
That the further you climb up that mountain, the rarer the areas, the rarer the friends that you have too. That
Yeah.
aren't, because most people are not willing to put in that dedication and the work ethic to achieve great things, right?
Yeah, no, it's true. It is, you really have to be willing to do it. And sometimes that's why one of the things I tell people is that we have to be okay with delayed gratification. And
Hmm.
sometimes you got to front load it. That's it. No deposit, no return, man.
What, you can't Amazon Prime success? Come on, man.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, Scott. Our society, we're used to being able to get stuff so fast, man. Literally, my kids right now don't really. I explained to them the experience when I was a kid when I wanted to get a pair of tennis shoes. Now, granted, for context, you're a big fella, Scott. You're bigger than me, as far as height wise. I remember standing
Yeah.
beside you. You're taller than me.
I'm
So,
six. I'm right at 6 foot. I walk on my toes after time, so I'm 6'2" sometimes, you know.
okay, well, we're about the same height then. Okay,
Yep.
if I recall. So I'm right at 6 feet. But the thing is that like I have, there's my family. We believe in being very stable. So we
Yep.
all got big feet. I don't know what
Amen
happens.
to that. Yep.
We all got big. So when I was a kid, I couldn't buy my shoes from like the tennis. I had to literally order them. What was it? eBay, East Bay, East Bay.
eBay back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
East
was
Bay. East
East
Bay
Bay.
tennis
It was
shoes.
East,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, East Bay
Okay.
tennis shoes. Okay. So literally I had to explain to them, like I had to go get a money order. I had to fill it out, put it in the mail, ship it, wait for them to process it. And I might get my pair of shoes in 4 to 6 weeks. They're like, 4 to 6 weeks. I'm like, that's if they didn't run out of it, by the time it got there. I was like, so sometime I'll get a letter come back saying, you know what you want is no longer in stock. Here's your money order back. And so what happened is that you talk about Amazon Prime and something. Sometimes you got to put in the work. Sometimes it takes
Yeah.
time. I've heard people say, it took me 20 years to be an overnight success. And it makes sense, and that's one of the hard things about it, that we see people and it feels like they get it so fast. And for some people, maybe they do. Maybe they do, dumping a lot of money on a meme coin and maybe it pops for them. Okay, well, that's fine. But guess what? That
If
is the exception.
it's the exception, but it's also usually not long term.
It's
If you
not.
look at the amount of people that have overnight success like that, truly
Mhm.
like overnight, they got lucky, went and bought the Powerball ticket. They can
Yeah.
be broke in about 2 years after they go through it all. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's true.
Athletes are just a huge thing like that.
Hmm.
We're both obviously sports fans, stuff like that. You see that
Hmm.
happen all the time, where most of these guys and gals are broke and bankrupt because they spend it all. They don't have the building blocks. Now, let me ask you a question. You mentioned 20 years to get overnight success. You've
Hmm.
been doing the counseling, working with families
I have. Yeah.
and for 20 years. Let's talk
Hmm.
about that because I guarantee those things line up a lot of the same issues, difference in how people approach money, spending habits, credit. I imagine you used to have a big afro, I imagine, back in the day before you were pulling
I
your hair
did.
out from
I
all this stuff,
did.
right?
I did, man. Actually, I got some pictures from it. That's
Oh, we
only
got to see
yeah.
this and
That's the way my kids only believe that I actually used to have hair. But the thing is that part of the reason, Scott, I even got into marriage and relationship coaching was out of necessity
yeah,
because me and my wife, we knew we loved each other,
yeah.
but we did not see any healthy marriages around
Mhm.
us. All of my siblings have been divorced. All of my wife's siblings have been divorced. And so we were just kind of sitting there. We're like, we know we love each other, but I was like, we're sure that everybody else who get a divorce loved each other too. So I'm like, so what are we going to
Right.
do? And so literally what happened is that we found there was a church in our local town who used to do this thing called Monday Night Solutions, where literally they did coaching and like relationship tools. And if we go back, me and my wife, we were married in year 2000. And so the kind of stigma around counseling and coaching is very different now than it was back then.
Sure.
Back then, people
Yep.
were like, hey, you know what? We don't talk about our business like that. We don't put our stuff in the street. But I was like, it don't seem like it's really working. I was like, so we need to be open and be willing to share this. So we started on the opposite side of the couch where we would sit down and we would get these tools how how to effectively deal with conflict, how to fight fair and everything else. And so there'll be and at the beginning it felt so corny. I was like, man, this is corny. But I was like, but I know what I saw as a kid and what my wife saw as a kid and working. So maybe we just need to do stuff that feels weird. And the reason it felt corny is that it was different. It was something I wasn't used
Yep.
to. But over time, the way that me and my wife started to communicate, it became more natural. But we noticed that, you know what, we didn't have a lot of conflicts. Or some of the stuff that we had conflicts with, we were able to resolve them and we're able to like not have stuff linger for days or weeks. We would sit down, we roll up our sleeves and we would work through stuff. And so really, we had that particular aspect of it. And then I was always a money nerd, so those two things kind of really came together. And so really interestingly that you asked that, Scott, is that this past year I did a presentation at I don't know if you heard of Camp Fire or not.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so I did a presentation at Camp Fire, and what I did a presentation on is the importance of a supportive spouse. Okay, and because I shared with you about the car lot that didn't work out. Guess what? I was still married. My wife was there with me. I blew through all the money we had. When I say I lost my shirt, I lost her shirt too. And my wife still was there with me. You know, I was like, baby, I was like, I want us to build a house. I want us to go buy a patch of land and I want us to build a house, but I want us to build a house ourselves. We're gonna go ahead, we're gonna GC it all, everything. Um, I was married through all that. I'm a computer programmer. I don't have a construction background, but my wife still supported me and all that. And so, the reason why I share all that stuff is that I did a presentation about that because I knew the importance of the support and how when it ties into money. And so, one of the things that I created as a tool for that is it's this framework I created, and it's called CENT, CENT. And what that framework basically stands for is communicate, evaluate, negotiate, trust. And so, literally, whenever you have a financial situation, if you can just use those 4 steps in that process, you can work with it through your spouse and you can get through, I feel, anything if you're just willing to put in that work. And so it's really important because, people have situations that go on that really impact their relationship, but most of them about money and other are about trust. And literally that's what it is. So if you can get those two things together, you'll find yourself having a very fulfilling relationship.
So true there. And I love that. CENT.
Yep.
Communication,
Yeah. Communicate, evaluate,
communicate, evaluate. That was it. Yeah.
negotiate,
Negotiate and
and
then
trust.
trust.
Yep,
Yep.
that's it. So
If
that's
you don't
basically
trust
what
your spouse, it ain't going to be a spouse long. You know what I mean?
it isn't, so that's kind of what it is. So that's the framework I came with. And part of the reason why I did that is that I would be in these meetings with all these very smart money people. And at some point, somebody would say, hey, you know what? How can I get my spouse on board for this? They don't want it. I'm like, man, I was like, smart as everybody is in here, nobody's like trying to figure it out because we like processes, right? We need to be able to duplicate stuff, right? So I'm like, okay, I was like, well, I got the background. I can try to figure something out. And so literally that's what kind of gave birth to like the scent framework. So I did that. And so now I go out and I try to share that with people who like, hey, I'm struggling with, getting my spouse on board. I share with them that framework.
I've always found too. It makes me think of a story I had where I was talking
Hmm.
with a distressed borrower one time
Okay.
on the phone, and his wife overheard that he was talking to the bank, me, and she just
Okay.
started railing into him like, "Oh, that great real estate investment deal, you big freaking idiot!" You know what I
Oh, wow.
mean? Oh yeah, you big bad awesome investor, and I'm just like, man, I'm like, she needs a shut up check.
Oh, wow.
But you're so right. First of all, everybody has different communication styles. If you came
Hmm.
from a spot where your parents are yelling, you yell a lot of times.
Yeah.
You know
Hmm.
what I mean? How they deal with stress, whether it's through alcohol or drugs or not communicating too, because obviously, guys, we've been taught, oh, don't communicate your feelings. A lot of cases, we're from that generation. These days, I
Yeah.
think they share their feelings a little too much. You know what I mean? Oh, I broke a
Yeah.
nail.
We have definitely kind of swung to the other end.
Yeah, that pendulum is swinging back. Let's get it back to the middle sometimes here. But that's
Yeah.
great. Now, you're in Jacksonville. Do you deal with a lot of military families too, up the neck of the woods that struggle with scent, as you said?
Uh-huh. I don't, I'm plugged in with them, but I don't, and typically what I do as far as on the relationship coaching is to the point now where we have been doing it for so long, we get a lot of referrals from people. Like
Okay.
I have it now to where people now will send their kids to us because it's kind of weird that we've been doing it for so long. But as far as just being with the military, we try to give whatever we can to the military.
Sure.
Um, we typically honestly with at this point when it comes to that, that's part of almost our ministry. So we really don't charge people for it. So if there's anybody and they come to us and say, hey, you know what, we're having some struggles, we'll connect with them. Right now, it's so easy. We can do Zoom. So a lot of times we'll just Zoom with people. We'll do sessions. We work with couples who like premarital, because our thing is we really try to do premarital because if we can
Mhm.
get you right, it's good. If we can get that kind of back real estate, if you got a good foundation, it works.
It's better
So
to find these issues out of the front end versus the back end.
yes,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
that's true. So we really definitely want to try to catch people doing that, but definitely, I didn't share my story. Part of my story is that I did spend a stint in the Army, so I am a veteran. So I always will have a soft spot in my heart for veterans. So even though Jacksonville's a Navy town, but I deal with the sailors too, though.
So what branch were you in?
I was Army.
Army. Okay, that's
Yeah,
why you made a jab at the Navy town there
yeah,
for you.
yeah, absolutely, man.
Go Army, beat Navy, right?
Yeah, man, absolutely, man. So yeah, I was an Army guy.
So are you watching like these dating shows like Love Is Blind and yelling at the screen? Just like,
Oh
hey,
man.
they should get you on as like the dating, not the dating counselor, but like that counselor before the walk
Mhm.
down the because Pastor Phil on some of these things is not doing a very good
Yeah,
job.
I don't look at a lot of them, Scott, because I feel like it's a lot of the theatrics,
Of course.
and I feel like unfortunately, it seems like sometimes on those shows they reward bad behavior.
Oh,
It's like
totally.
the more toxic you are, the more screen time you get, and
Yep.
the storyline kind of builds around you. I'm like like your relationship should be fulfilling, but pretty boring.
Fulfilling but boring. Yeah, they
Yeah.
should avoid the drama. That's so
Yeah, you
true.
don't want that drama, man.
No, no,
So
no, 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 no,
you
no,
do
no
want it to be
drama,
fulfilling.
mama.
No,
Definitely for sure.
no drama. Me and my wife have
That's
been
true.
together for, goodness.
Get this right. I think
Yeah,
you quoted the date earlier. Let's see if it's the same date.
yeah, we got married in 2000. We got together in 96. So we've been
Okay.
together for 29 years, no breaks.
There you
No,
go.
no breaks in
Congratulations.
service.
That's almost a paid off mortgage there. Almost a pay
Yes, absolutely, man. We're paying straight principal now, baby. No
straight
interest.
principal now.
No interest, man. No interest.
So are you just doing? I mean, I love what you're doing here, man. Doing a great
Mhm,
job. That's why when we were talking,
mhm,
last week, I was like, we got to get you on here.
mhm,
And you're just doing these live in person there in Jacksonville.
mhm.
Have you thought about doing like virtually through Zoom or marketing them a little bit more?
Yeah, I have thought about doing them on Zoom, but kind of what my goal is right now is that I really want to uplift my community. So I'm really
Hmm.
focused more, even though I know there are some people who might not be able to get to it locally. My thing is that I like that kind of face-to-face energy that goes
Sure.
on in there, and that we can build those relationships. And so really, I'm doing these sessions now, and the sessions are kind of building to create the awareness. What I do want to do is definitely build out some type of curriculum for people. I guess.
Okay.
And so building out doesn't necessarily mean I have to build it. I'm also looking at partnering with other organizations. And so there are some nonprofits here who focus on whether it's parenting skills, or also there are like Second Hope, Operation Second Hope, I think here in town, where they deal with
Yep.
people who just have been incarcerated, who are getting out, who are trying to get
Yep.
right. And one of the beautiful things about it is that, when you are a convicted felon, many places you can't get licenses like being a plumber or HVAC. You can't be a licensed tradesman, but you can invest in the stock market, ironically. And so if you can figure out, those basic fundamentals around that, let's do that. So I want to go out and start building like almost like mentorship programs with that, and just really, try to go and partner people with resources. I like trying to be a connector, Scott. So really what I'm
Sure.
trying to do
No.
is connect with other people, and also connect those people to those services and programs that'll help them out to just kind of get to the point where they feel as though, I mean, living check to check is a reality for too many people. My
Right.
thing is that, some people are, one flat tire from, what I'm saying, their world coming to an end because they don't have the money. Because if they don't have the money, that means they're not gonna be making their job. If they're not gonna be making their job, they're not gonna get paid. If they don't get paid, then it's just a snowball effect. So let's go
Yep.
ahead and get you where you're okay. You can start having some type of emergency fund and everything else where you can be like, okay, you know what? I can breathe a little bit. Because once you get your basic necessities met, then you're like, okay, well, all right, well, maybe I heard about, investing in the stock market, or hey, I can buy notes, or maybe then you have that space between getting your needs met, and when you get that surplus, then it allows you to go out and do other stuff. So really, what I want to do is empower people to be able to take the knowledge and go out, whether it is real estate using notes, or invest in the stock market, or starting their own small business, whether it's a janitorial service. I don't care.
Yep.
Just get out there, do something, and just know that you are able to do far more than you think you can.
Amen. That makes a lot of common sense
Yeah.
when it comes down to it there for you. Yeah, I love what you're doing, buddy. I'm looking forward to spending a couple days here with you
Yes, sir.
in Portland, Oregon, hanging out with a bunch of other money nerds out there. But you are doing a tremendous job, and that's why we wanted to get you on here to share with you, because we do have a pretty good following in Jacksonville.
Oh
What are
no,
the
absolutely.
dates for your next quarterly event you've got going? I know you've got what, a month or two
Yeah.
out?
Yeah, I do. I got one going on October 25th of this year. It's going to be at the Willow Branch Library. It's going to be at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If individuals would like to register, they can go out to my website, Everyday Money Heroes. I have the link to the event. They can click on that. It'll take them right over. They'll get the Eventbrite. They'll get all the information, everything else. And if they come out, where they're going to hear is some information, some inspiration. And also they'll get plugged into a group of people here who literally just want to see them do their best. And that's all we want.
That's awesome. That's all we really want, to see people do their best. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And unfortunately, Scott, unfortunately, our society right now, people are not used to getting stuff with no strings attached.
Yeah.
I'm like, it ain't no strings attached, because I know I'm blessed when I can be a blessing to other people. So that's what I want to do, because at the end of the day, I want my name to mean something. So that's what I'm trying
Well,
to do.
I think too that when you've gone through ups and downs,
Hmm.
financial peaks, financial valleys, and stuff like that,
Yeah.
you want to help people avoid those valleys, those mistakes that you've made along the way. And
Hmm.
anytime you can pour into people goodness,
Hmm.
and let them know that, hey, you're not a bad person because you failed. And I think
Yeah.
that's one big thing we see a lot of these days, is that kids aren't used to failing, and then they get out in the workforce and they've got to fight their way up a little bit. Well, they just don't know how to do that, and they've never failed along the way, or they just always had issues because they were always taken care of. They don't understand. Hey, that's not how the world works. Here's how the world really works, and they're
Yeah.
unprepared in a lot of cases, right?
Yeah. Life ain't full of participation trophies, man. It's
Well, it
not.
is in some cases. It doesn't mean squat.
Yeah, unfortunately we give them out, but
That's
the thing is that, it's okay to fail. I mean,
yeah,
literally, like I say, when I went back and I had that car lot, Scott, I mean, I remember I wrote the last check for my mortgage and I was like, all right, God, that's it. I was like, I ain't got nothing else,
yeah,
and I went from that point till literally 5 years later. I was standing on 3 acres of land that I own in Jacksonville, getting ready to build, my forever home. And that was
yeah.
just 5 years. And I mean, that was just through, me and my wife just getting down on it and saying, hey, you know what? All right, we got it once, we can get it twice. That has always been our mindset. You know what? If we messed up, that's cool. We're gonna learn from it. We're not gonna do it again. We might do something else that don't work out. We're not gonna do
Right.
this again. And just keep moving forward, man. So really, whether it's investing in notes or whatever you're doing, real estate, it's okay if you don't have anybody around you that's doing it. You can be that exception, and you can be that light that other people can see and say, you know what? I know Scott's doing it. I know Nik's doing it. I know Brad's doing it. So inspire other people. And it's okay because at the end of the day, on this journey, it's one step at a time. You might not be perfect, but you can get there.
Amen to that. I love it. I love it, Nik. Looking forward to hanging with you for a couple days. Once
Yes,
again,
sir.
what's the website for folks to go to check out the next schedule for your class and everything?
The next schedule for the class is going to be October 25th. Website is Everyday Money Heroes. Also, what I do share outside of my workshops is that I do have a YouTube channel and a podcast platform, which is Everyday Money Heroes. And so you can subscribe on any podcast platform, or you can follow us on YouTube as well. All I do is just kind of drop common sense stuff. And also I share other stories of people who are doing the same thing, as far as, putting in the work, making those steps and trying to get to the finish line.
Awesome. I'll make sure to put those in the description for you guys out there.
Yes, sir.
Nik, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Great stuff as always. And once again, if you're in the Jacksonville area or know
Yeah.
somebody in that neck of the woods, make sure you reach out to them,
Yeah.
refer them out to Nik. Nik will take good care of them, and
I will.
let's get you on the right path to success for you. It might be a little bit of a winding road, not straight and narrow, but you'll learn more along the way. All right,
Yeah, you'll
everybody.
get there. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Scott.
Thank you, Nik. All right, everybody, go out, take some action, and we'll see you at the top.
All right, and there you have it. That was my interview with Scott Carson with We Close Notes. Hope that you enjoyed it. As I said before, you have not subscribed to the channel here, that you would go ahead and do so, and share with someone. If you have not checked out Scott's content before, I would also encourage you to do that as well. So I'm going to sign off here. Once again, I am Nik Johnson, reminding you to trust the process. Have a great day.